Hello everyone, John A.G. here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, the real market updates that everyone else cannot and will not tell you. So please subscribe to this channel. I love all of my subscribers for your incredible support, and please watch this video till the very end, because YouTube will not push my videos to more people. The algorithms are designed to suppress the truth, to hide the reality of what is unfolding right before our eyes, which is why your engagement and your attention today are more vital than ever. Make sure you stay with me through every second of this, because the information I am about to share is quite literally a matter of financial life and death for you and your family. We are speaking today on May 7th, 2026. Look at the date. Burn it into your memory. We are standing in the wreckage of what the mainstream media is still desperately trying to call a temporary market correction. Do not let them lie to you. Do not let the talking heads in their expensive suits on the financial networks gaslight you into believing that the red you are seeing in your retirement accounts is just a normal part of the business cycle. What we are witnessing right now is the worst stock market crash in 2026. A systemic, catastrophic unwinding of the greatest debt bubble in the history of human civilization. It makes the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor accounting error. But the crash itself is only the first layer of the deception. The true horror, and the greatest hidden opportunity of our lifetime, is the historic 300% gold price surge that Wall Street is moving mountains to keep completely hidden from the retail investor. If you think the panic you are seeing on Wall Street right now is the whole story, you are missing the greatest wealth transfer in modern history. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why, as the S&P 500 bleeds out and the tech sector evaporates, the billionaires aren't panicking? Have you noticed how quiet the banking elites have been over the past few weeks? They are quiet because they already exited the burning building, and they locked the doors behind them. They used your 401ks, your pension funds, and your blind trust in the system as their exit liquidity. While they were telling you on television to buy the dip and hold for the long term, they were quietly accumulating the one asset that survives the death of a fiat currency. They were buying physical gold, and they were buying it at a pace we have not seen since the collapse of the Bretton Woods system. To understand the sheer magnitude of the 300% surge that is happening in the shadows, you first have to understand the anatomy of the disease that has infected our global economy. For the last 2 decades, our financial system has not been based on capitalism, free markets, or actual economic productivity. It has been based entirely on the manipulation of interest rates and the relentless printing of counterfeit currency by central banks. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, they all participated in a coordinated illusion. When the crisis of 2008 hit, they did not fix the problem. They merely papered over it with trillions of dollars in quantitative easing. They created a world where debt was celebrated as wealth, where unprofitable zombie companies were valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars simply because money was free. They told us that inflation was transitory. They told us in 2022, 2023, and 2024 that they had the tools to engineer a soft landing. They lied. The mathematics of a $35 trillion national debt in the United States alone dictated that a soft landing was always a mathematical impossibility. By early 2026, the cracks in the dam completely shattered. Commercial real estate portfolios held by regional banks imploded. The commercial properties sitting empty since the shift in global work habits suddenly had to be refinanced at rates that were double or triple what they were a few years ago. The banks realized the collateral backing their loans was worthless. And what happens when the collateral evaporates? The credit markets freeze. We are seeing a freeze right now that is paralyzing the globe. But I want to pull back the curtain on the most insidious part of this crisis. When the equity markets began their terrifying descent earlier this year, something completely unnatural happened in the commodities markets. The spot price of gold, the official price you see on your digital screens, barely moved. In a time of unprecedented global panic, hyperinflationary pressure, and the collapse of the US dollar's purchasing power, the official price of gold appeared stagnant. Why? How is it possible that the ultimate safe haven asset wasn't reacting to the end of the financial world? Here is the hook you need to grasp, the terrifying reality that Aurex is dedicated to exposing. The price you see on your screen is a phantom. It is a derivative illusion created by the fractional reserve banking system applied to precious metals. Wall Street trades millions of ounces of paper gold every single day, through unallocated exchange-traded funds and futures contracts. For every 1 ounce of physical gold sitting in a vault, there are upwards of 100 paper claims on that exact same ounce. The big bullion banks systematically flood the futures market with thousands of contracts to short gold, driving the digital price down, suppressing the alarm bell that gold naturally sounds when a currency is failing. They suppress the paper price so that the masses do not wake up to the reality of the dollar's demise. If gold were allowed to rise to its true, unmanipulated value, the psychological confidence in fiat currency would vanish overnight. While they are suppressing the paper price, look at what they are doing in the physical market. Look at the premiums on physical bullion. Look at the central banks of the East. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with their new strategic partners, have been hoarding thousands of tons of physical gold. They are not buying paper contracts. They are demanding physical delivery. They are repatriating their gold from the vaults of London and New York, bringing it back within their sovereign borders. They know that the unipolar world, dominated by the petrodollar, is over. The weaponization of the US dollar over the past decade taught the rest of the world a brutal lesson. If your reserves are held in another country's fiat currency, you do not truly have reserves. This brings us to the hidden historic 300% surge. We are tracking transactions in the shadow markets, the private exchanges between sovereign wealth funds, billionaires, and elite institutions. In these off-book, over-the-counter trades, physical gold is exchanging hands at a valuation roughly 300% higher than the manipulated spot price listed on the COMEX. The divergence between paper gold and physical gold has never been wider in the history of finance. We are rapidly approaching the tipping point, a moment of force majeure, where the holders of paper contracts will ask for physical delivery, and the exchanges will have to admit that the vaults are empty. When that happens, the paper illusion will disintegrate, and the physical price will instantly gap up by 3, 4, or 5 times its current stated value. The elites know this. They are positioned for this, and they are desperate to keep you out of the lifeboat until they have secured all the seats. We have to talk about the human cost of this deception, because this isn't just about charts, graphs, and economic theory. Behind every plunging ticker symbol is a human life, a shattered dream, a family pushed to the brink of despair. I want to share a story with you that breaks my heart, a story that represents millions of people right now in 2026. A man named Elias reached out to me recently. Elias is 70 years old. He worked in a manufacturing plant in the Midwest for 42 years. He played by all their rules. He saved a portion of every paycheck, he lived below his means, and he entrusted his life savings to a mainstream financial advisor who put him in a safe, diversified portfolio of 60% stocks and 40% bonds. Elias called me with a voice shaking with a terror that a man of his age should never have to experience. Over the last 4 months, he has watched the purchasing power of his life's work simply vanish. The stock portion of his portfolio is down nearly 50%, completely gutted by the crash of 2026. The bond portion, which was supposed to be a safety net, was decimated by the reacceleration of inflation and the total collapse of the bond market. Meanwhile, the property taxes on his modest home have skyrocketed, the cost of his wife's medication has tripled, and basic groceries are becoming a luxury. Elias wept on the phone with me. He asked, "John, where did the money go? I did everything right. Where did it go?" The money didn't disappear into thin air. It was transferred. It was stolen through the invisible tax of inflation and the engineered collapse of the financial markets. It was transferred from the pockets of hardworking, honest people like Elias into the offshore accounts of the architects who built this fraudulent system. Wall Street doesn't view Elias as a human being. They view him as a data point, an acceptable casualty in their endless pursuit of leverage and power. This is the human reality of the worst stock market crash of 2026. It is the systematic strip mining of middle-class wealth. If you are listening to this right now and you feel a sense of rising panic, I want you to take a deep breath. Fear is the tool they use to keep you paralyzed. Knowledge is the weapon you use to fight back. Aurex is not a channel built on fear-mongering. It is a fortress built on truth. The reason I am speaking to you with such intensity, the reason I am asking you to subscribe and share this information, is because there is a way out. There is a way to not only survive this systemic collapse, but to preserve your family's legacy and emerge on the other side with profound generational wealth. But it requires you to unlearn everything the financial establishment has taught you. You have to realize that the old paradigm is dead. The idea of buying an index fund and holding it forever was a luxury of a functioning macroeconomic environment. We are now in a survival environment. The transition from a unipolar world to a multipolar world is causing violent geopolitical tectonic shifts. The BRICS nations are currently rolling out a trade settlement currency backed by a basket of commodities, with gold at the absolute center. They are doing this to bypass the Western financial system entirely. When the largest producers of oil, natural gas, rare earth minerals, and agricultural products demand payment in hard assets rather than depreciating American debt, the demand for the US dollar plummets. This is the exact catalyst for the hyperinflationary wave we are experiencing right now in May 2026. The dollars that were exported abroad for decades to buy cheap goods are coming home like a flood of toxic waste. Too many dollars chasing too few goods results in the exact nightmare playing out in your local grocery store. And as the stock market collapses under the weight of high interest rates and frozen credit, the Federal Reserve is trapped in a fatal dilemma. If they keep rates high, the entire banking system, the stock market, and corporate America collapse into a deflationary depression. If they pivot and print trillions of new dollars to bail out the system, they trigger Weimar Republic-style hyperinflation. They will choose to print. They always choose to print. It is the only political choice they have to avoid a complete collapse of government services. When they announce the next massive, multi-trillion-dollar liquidity injection, which they will try to disguise under a new, complex acronym, that is the moment the 300% gold surge breaks the surface of the water. That is the moment the paper suppression scheme fails, because the sheer volume of newly printed currency will overwhelm the manipulative short positions on the COMEX. You must ask yourself what you own that cannot be printed, deleted, or defaulted upon. If your wealth exists only as digits on a screen in a bank server, you do not truly own it. You are an unsecured creditor to an insolvent institution. In the event of a catastrophic banking failure, the bail-in laws passed after 2008 allow the banks to legally freeze your deposits and convert them into worthless bank equity. Your money becomes their money to save themselves. The strategy right now is radical independence. It is the immediate conversion of digital, counterparty risk into physical, tangible assets. Gold is the ultimate Tier 1 asset. It is the only financial asset on the planet that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. When you hold a physical gold coin in your hand, you are holding absolute financial sovereignty. You are holding the exact same asset that the central banks of the world are desperately hoarding while they tell you to buy their paper garbage. But gold is only the foundation. Silver, the most undervalued asset in human history, is poised for an explosive move that will proportionally dwarf even the historic 300% gold surge. Silver is not just monetary metal. It is the critical component in every piece of modern technology, from solar panels and electric vehicles to military guidance systems and advanced AI infrastructure. The physical silver inventory above ground has been depleted to terrifyingly low levels, completely masked by the same paper market manipulation that plagues gold. When the industrial panic meets the monetary panic, the squeeze on physical silver will be biblical. Beyond precious metals, the 2026 paradigm shift requires investments in absolute tangibles: land that can produce food, water rights, energy independence, skills that are irreplaceable by artificial intelligence. We are moving from an economy of financialization, where wealth was created by moving numbers on a screen, to an economy of reality, where wealth is measured by what you can physically control, consume, or utilize to sustain human life. Wall Street hates this transition because they cannot charge an ongoing management fee on a physical gold bar buried in your safe. They cannot digitally confiscate a piece of fertile land you own outright. I need you to look closely at the geopolitical chessboard. Why is the mainstream media continuously pushing narratives of distraction? Every day there is a new cultural outrage, a new political scandal, a new divisive topic broadcast across every screen. This is a calculated psychological operation. It is bread and circuses on a digital scale. While you are arguing with your neighbor over artificial political divisions, the central bankers are changing the locks on the global financial system. They are actively trying to roll out central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. A CBDC is the ultimate mechanism of financial enslavement. It is programmable money. If they successfully implement a CBDC in response to the 2026 market crash, they will have the power to dictate exactly what you can buy, when you can buy it, and where you can spend your money. They can implement negative interest rates instantly, draining your account if you try to save. They can block your transactions if you express the wrong political opinion or consume too much energy. The rollout of a CBDC is the final nail in the coffin of human liberty, and the absolute destruction of the fiat dollar is the necessary pretext for its implementation. This is why securing physical gold and silver outside the banking system is the ultimate act of rebellion. It is the preservation of your freedom to transact, to save, and to protect your family from an Orwellian financial surveillance state. The historic 300% gold price surge is not just a mechanism for wealth preservation. It is the free market screaming its rejection of digital tyranny. Do you see the full picture now? Do you see why they must hide the surge? If the American people, if the global middle class, realized that their wealth was being strip-mined to fund the elite's accumulation of physical assets, the entire system would collapse in a day. The people would rush the banks, they would empty their retirement accounts, and they would drain the bullion vaults dry. Wall Street relies on your ignorance. They rely on the illusion of stability to buy themselves one more day, one more week, one more month of accumulation. I started Aurex because I could no longer sit in the background and watch the financial slaughter of innocent people. I spent years studying the intricacies of macroeconomics, geopolitical shifts, and the shadowy mechanics of the commodities markets. I saw the debt bubble expanding past the point of mathematical return. I saw the central banks of the East quietly draining the Western vaults of their physical gold. And I saw the relentless, sickening propaganda machine of the financial media keeping the retail investors anesthetized. Every single video on this channel is a rescue mission. I am reaching my hand out to you through this screen, asking you to wake up, to stand up, and to take immediate, decisive action. The window of opportunity to position yourself is closing rapidly. The physical premiums are already rising. The availability of high-quality sovereign minted coins is drying up globally. Soon, we will reach a point of unobtainium, where no amount of fiat currency will be able to procure physical precious metals because those who hold it will outright refuse to trade the ultimate money for worthless paper. Do not let the complexity of the financial system intimidate you. They use complex jargon, quantitative tightening, reverse repo facilities, collateralized loan obligations, specifically to make you feel stupid, to make you feel like you need to outsource your financial destiny to a professional. But the truth is incredibly simple. You cannot borrow your way out of debt. You cannot print wealth. And a system built on infinite exponential growth on a planet with finite resources must eventually self-destruct. We have reached the event horizon of that destruction in May 2026. Look at your family. Look at the people who depend on you. They are relying on you to see the storm approaching and to build the shelter before the rain begins to fall. You cannot wait for the government to save you, because the government is the entity that created the crisis. You cannot wait for Wall Street to advise you, because Wall Street is busy stealing from you. Your financial salvation rests entirely in your own hands, in your willingness to face uncomfortable truths, and in your courage to act contrary to the herd. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me, for listening to this truth, and for being a part of the Aurex family. Your comments, your stories, your shared experiences from around the world are what give me the fuel to keep fighting this war of information. You are the resistance against the great deception. Remember that the worst stock market crash in 2026 is only the end of an illusion. It is the beginning of a reality where real wealth is returned to those who hold real assets. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and never stop questioning the narrative they try to feed you. I love you all. I am John A.G., and I will see you in the next one.